Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 245 of the RRBG podcast. This podcast is a proud member of the Podbelly Network. Go to podbelly.com and check out all the amazing shows we have on our network, including the Sofa King podcast, Robots for Eyes, Art and Jacob Do America. I mean, there's one for everything that you're into. If you're into Magic the Gathering, they got you. If you're into the occult, they got you. You're into serial killers, they got you. Everything. Go to podbelly.com, check out the list, and support the network. This episode is also brought to you by Killcliff. My friends over at Killcliff make the best energy drink you can buy in the market today. Clean energy, none of that crap that they put in Monster or any of those Red Bulls. No sugar, just clean power for all the grind you're going to have to put in today. And if you're not grinding today and you just want to relax, they also have CBD drinks to help you recover from any injuries you may have, any kind of inflammation. Maybe you went a little too hard at the gym. CBD drink will get you right back on track. Go to their website, killcliff.com. Check out all their different flavors. My personal favorite Ignite drink is the Cherry Limeade. And in the CBD category, you have to try the Joe Rogan Special. It's the Flaming Joe Pineapple with Jalapeno. It's not that spicy. You just get a little bit of a kick at the end. It's delicious. Go to killcliff.com and tell them that RRBG sent you. This podcast is also brought to you by Saints Joints. Go to saintsjoints.com and check out all the awesome products they have there, including the new Book of Saints that comes with 4 packs of pre-roll joints. This is incredible, lavish, luxurious-looking gold foil stash box. The works. It's the best-looking stash box I've seen. Make sure to go pick one up before they're all gone. And also check out the new hash-infused pre-rolls. Don't forget, it's saintsjoints.com, and make sure you tell them that we sent you. In this episode, I talked to Christian Cole. Christian is a professional wrestling ring announcer, commentator, and has actually spent some time in the ring. You may have seen him work in New Japan Pro Wrestling, PWG, or PCW Ultra. We talk about his career. We talk about the local wrestling scene. We talk about the brotherhood that is formed behind the scenes in professional wrestling. We talk about his future plans. It was a fun conversation, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure to follow him on social media at XTIAN Cole. And if you get a chance, check out our Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/RRBG. Cheers. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the RRBG podcast. I'm here with my buddy Christian Cole. That's your work name.
Yeah, it's my first and middle name.
First and middle name. Yeah. I saw online that you do have a shoot name.
I do, but I think the one online's wrong. What did it say?
Maldonado?
My high school diploma says Maldonado. That's my mom's maiden name, but my government name is Siegel, Siegel.
Like
that's on my real estate license and everything.
Like Sensei Seagal?
No, he's Seagal. I'm Siegel, Siegel.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah. So for those that are watching and are not aware, Christian here, it says you're a professional wrestler. I mean, yeah. You have been in the ring. I have seen you in the ring, but I mean, mostly you were like a manager,
yeah,
and then an announcer.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that. I mean, how much wrestling did you do?
Yeah, I professional wrestled.
You professional wrestled?
Like a couple of times, you know. I think I have 10 matches.
10 matches? Okay.
Most of them were either Battle Royal appearances, Rumble style appearances. There was a few tags, a few 6-mans. So that's kind of how I started. I mean, I the actual roots of everything was me just looking up Rick Drazen on Google 12 years ago, looking for a new path in life, and Rick accepted me with open arms. I was broke as shit. I had $300 at any given time in my bank account,
as most wrestlers.
Yeah. And Rick was like, if you can help me with the editing, because I was in high school, I did editing. In college, I learned a lot about whether it was Adobe Premiere or Final Cut. He's like, if you could help me do my editing for my YouTube page, I'll waive your fees and sweep the ring, do the editing, film the other wrestlers, guys like Jungle Boy, guys like Luchasaurus, we all, Miro, we were all there, and I would film everybody's matches, and then Rick would film mine, and then it would all go up on his YouTube page. But I mean, that was a blessing, and we lost Rick a couple years ago, but that was a blessing that he was able to pass on to me that really helped turn my life around, quite frankly, and wrestling was part of that journey. So
How much training did you have to do before you actually like did matches? Like, I mean, so I know that, you know, you see the wrestlers out there, they're definitely all in ridiculous shape. Yeah, there's some that are not, like, they don't really care too much, but, you know, for the most part, it just seems like there's a lot of training involved to get in the ring. How much training did you do?
Yeah, I trained a lot, man. I trained, I trained for about 5 months with Rick and then another year with Knox. So about maybe 16, 17 months.
Knox Pro?
Knox Pro with Rikishi and Black Pearl, Gangrel, those guys. And so, yeah, I mean, I trained a lot. And I think any wrestler would tell you, like, you know, even if they get to their first professional match, they make their debut or whatever, they're going to continue to train and continue to get better, working on different moves. If they're bad at this, they'll keep working on this. If they're bad at that, they'll keep working on that. You know,
right.
And so for me, like the wrestling part of it, though, I did kind of just stop the training part of it, and I moved more towards the microphone, which I thought was basically always going to be my forte anyway. My strength was on the microphone, and also like the wrestling part of it, man. It's just some of these guys, they're incredible, and the pain and that they go through. Frankly, I'm not a pain guy.
Right.
I kind of try to keep chill. You know, don't bumping is not a good feeling when you do it. You know, 25, 30 times a day, 5 days a week when you're training. And I have nothing but respect for the people who put their body. I mean, that's why I love wrestling. I mean, I know what it takes to get over, to put yourself in this position where you're killing yourself. You know, and that type of passion to me is one of the reasons I've always loved wrestling, is because there's such a dedication into it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I am one of those guys that'll like just fight through the pain and get it done, but then like spend the next week in bed covered in ice bags, you know? But yeah, and I try to explain this to some friends of mine that just don't watch wrestling. They're like, why do people watch pro wrestling when there's UFC? It's like, because it's still... You don't understand the pain, the work that goes into, the dedication that goes into pro wrestling. It's insane.
Yeah. And fight choreography, I mean, everyone can appreciate fight choreography. For some reason, like certain naysayers will nitpick wrestling and talk about its authenticity or not, when in reality, like...
And then tell you to watch The Raid.
Right. Or, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up on, like, Jackie Chan movies and, like... you know, a lot of like action movies, and you know, it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger isn't actually kicking their asses, but like Tom Cruise,
but it looks cool.
It does, yeah. And Tom Cruise is a good example, like, of somebody who basically gets a lot of credit for the stunts, and like people always like talk about how awesome he is to, you know, in his fake fighting, but for some reason, some people want to naysay wrestling, which is weird to me.
Well, it's even crazier with wrestling because, you know, in a movie you can cut and redo and blah, blah, blah. This shit's live. Yeah. A lot of it's not, like, they're not sitting in the back and working out every move.
No.
They're like, look, this is how it's going to go down, and then in the ring is when they call it. You know, they're like, hey, and you know, some people famously say it a little too loudly.
Yeah.
You know, and
Cena. There's like a lot of clips of Cena like just blatantly being like, God, take a bulldog.
Yeah, man. Like, you know, my wife was asking me the other day. She's like, because we watched Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I love Cena. I'm like, you know, I love him as an actor. I love him as a personality. I like him on the mic. He's a great human being. But I just there's so many times where he misses his move, the five finger thing, where he punches he punches you on the head, but he just hits the mat, or you hear him just like clothesline. It's like, oh my God.
What was weird was like, just because you said he misses the move, it makes me want to bring this up. But I watched SummerSlam the other day, and I felt like maybe in his contract for this match, like he had some sort of clause like, don't touch my face, because maybe he's filming something. Because the match was good between him and Roman, like it was a pretty good match, but he kept every time Roman hit the Superman, it didn't pop, because I feel like everybody in the audience saw that he was hitting him like in his pec. You know what I mean? And he was just going so far to avoid his face. I just imagine Cena in the back, like signing a no-face contract because of some movie he's doing, you know?
For sure. I mean, he even mentioned it. Yeah, like one of his promos, he was like, I got to go back to Hollywood, but, you know, it's like, yeah, he's definitely got more movies coming. And he's great in the movies. He's hilarious.
What'd you think about him in Suicide Squad?
He was great. I thought it was fun. I mean, I don't know the character. It's not like I've read a comic where his character exists, but it was all right, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I thought he was great in it and all that stuff. I thought the movie was really, really good. I think the character for me was like, I don't know, I think that they could have I don't know. He was like almost like too heelish to me. Like I wanted him to be a little more comedy oriented because Cena's good at that, and the character was kind of funny. But then the character was kind of dark, dude. I was just like, shit.
Yeah, I kind of get it too, though, only because there's so many other people doing comedy in the movie. There is a lot of comedy in the movie, so they did need some kind of heel. But it's weird that they, now they're going to make a series on his character.
Oh, just for his character?
Just his character.
That's pretty cool.
Which is cool, but also like you're making a series on like the darkest guy on the bill.
Yeah, he's so weird looking too with his like
that
toilet head, bro.
Anyway, so when was it that you decided that you wanted to manage and not be so competitive in the ring and just actually stick to the mic? Was there an injury? Was there like something that made you want to transition out of the physicality?
Well, what happened was I picked up the microphone in Knox Pro to test the sound and I just did like my best Bruce Buffer impression just to fuck around. Yeah. And the Black Pearl like stepped out of the curtain, Reno NOIE, and he stepped out of the curtain. Oh, here comes my dog. And he goes, "Hey, Oos, that's your job now." And I'm like, okay. And so then I started doing those like little shows, 30, 50 people in the Knox Pro dojo. Hey, you coming to hang out, babies?
Hey.
That's Kokomo.
Kokomo. Hi.
And so I was doing those little shows as a ring announcer, but then they kind of had this like philosophy at Knox Pro that you weren't allowed to work other places, and I wasn't like down with that. So eventually I wanted to branch out, and Eric Watts, who's famously from Tough Enough and one of the top wrestlers, in my opinion, indie wrestlers in Los Angeles, he was like, "Hey, Oos, you want to?" He didn't say Oos, that was Reno, but he's like, "Hey, you want to come to do this show with me? You'll just manage me." And I was like, "All right, that sounds cool." I grew up loving Bobby Heenan and Paul Heyman and Vicky Guerrero, like all these like incredible managers throughout the years. And I did it, man. I went there and it was a tables match, and we ended up calling all these spots where I was using the physicality that I learned through training, but also just managing on the side. And I got a ton of heat, bro. Like the crowds absolutely hated me. It was a great feeling, obviously, which is kind of only wrestlers will understand that. People who like wrestling. Yeah. But and so I started doing that managing thing, and then eventually that turned into Scorpio Sky. I wanted to get on that Hollywood show. I kept going down there trying to get work. Hey, will you guys put me on the show? And I couldn't get them to give me anything until finally Sky went up to the promoter, Dave Marquez, and he was like, "Hey, man, I want this guy to be my super agent." And it was Sky's idea. And so then I started doing that with the experience, and like that was really cool. Eventually went to Paragon Pro. That's probably the proudest work I have was at Paragon Pro because it was just shot so well. We had such cool storylines. Jared Ganem, the producer, was putting together like edited clips that are really badass. Like I'll send you some of them. They're kind of cool, man.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
But like the managing stuff, even to this day, is like my favorite job in wrestling. Like getting heat, telling stories, like doing shit that's like that gets the emotions of people. So like ring announcing has that. Like when you're calling out two dudes and you're like getting them built up. Like I said, I looked up to Bruce Buffer. Yeah. And like he gets people emotional about what's about to happen in the fight. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I love that, and I love Bruce's like the way he does it. But it's funny because I've talked to people like Barnett, and I'm like, hey, so how does it do anything for you? And he's like, nah.
Right.
I don't give a shit. I'm trying to kill that guy.
Well, Josh is like a unique character. Like he basically. Yeah, I don't know that he can feel one way or the other when he's about to battle. Like that dude is a machine, you know what I mean? But there are fighters who do feed off of it emotionally, and frankly, there's pro wrestlers too who like come up to me afterward and they're like, "Man, you got me going." Like I wanted to have the match of my life. I was nervous. You killed the nerves for me. You got me hyped, and now I had my match. And especially at PWG, I get a lot of good feedback from some of the dudes around the world who come in there and like the work. So
how'd you end up in PWG? Because I mean. I'm kind of not new at this point. It's been a few years now, but I grew up watching WWE mostly, all of like the classics, and then thinking that was it. I didn't even really watch WCW all that much. Like I kind of watched some of it when the new NWO was out. I really dug that because I was a big Razor Ramon guy. So when he left, I was like, oh, what's he doing? Yeah. I'm gonna go watch that.
I was a Razor guy too.
Yeah. So. I'm not really like I wasn't really exploring the independent scene. And then when I moved out here, I met some folks, some buddies, Mark and Zach and his wife, or Mark's girl Sarah, and they invited me out to go see PCW.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that was your first indie show.
That was my first indie show.
Well, I was there. I imagine.
Yeah. You were doing show, commentating and also the announcing. So. I went and I was blown away. Yeah. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" It's like a concert. There's people standing around. There's people yelling at the throwing stuff, and obviously Joseph's a maniac, and they got these matches where they just go in the crowd and they're throwing chairs, and it was an experience, And then from there, that's when I decided to start like, oh, okay, let me look into this world, and that's when I found out that PWG is like the spot.
Yes.
For independent wrestling.
Yes. I mean, like worldwide, it's the spot.
Yeah, it's the spot.
Yeah.
So how did you end up there?
Well, at Mach 1 Wrestling, like kind of coming off training, I was with John Ian down in Anaheim, and there was an announcer there named Angelo Trinidad. He hit me up, and we became friends over the course of years, and by 2013, he was like slowing down a little bit, missing shows at Gorilla, and he was like, hey, man, do you want to take my spot? So John Ian had the spot at Gorilla, gave it to Angelo when John Ian opened Mach 1. And then when Angelo was slowing down and kind of missing dates, not just because of life, right?
Right. Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, can you be my backup?" So I backed him up during like the Generico, Chris Hero days, like Davey, who's on our next show, which is insane to me, by the way. But Roddy, all those guys. So that's when I got in, but I was like a little substitute kind of situation, right? And then eventually Angelo had his first kid, and then his second kid, and then got married, and he was like, I think I'm kind of just gonna take time off wrestling. I mean, at the time he said he was done. I'm hoping one day he comes back. I think I love Angelo, and he did a little tiny show recently in Orange County that he said he enjoyed. But yeah, he's like, take the spot, man. And then Danny gave me the spot, and then Danny's obviously the promoter for Gorilla, right? So he gave me the spot, and I've been there ever since, and I love it at Gorilla, man. It's just a different environment, much like what you were saying about PCW. It's the best of the best in terms of wrestling. It's the fans are the best, the talent is the best, the presentation, it's all second to none. And both of those companies, PCW's newer, right? Gorilla's been around for 15 years.
Yeah.
But PCW, in its short time here on Earth, has been a pretty badass company, and I'm not surprised to hear you say that like you walked into your first indie show, it was PCW, and you fucking loved it. It
hooked me so bad. I was at every PCW show after that, and then from there, obviously, I started like, oh, they're like, well, we're gonna go see bar wrestling. I'm like, oh shit, what is that? And they're like, well, this is like, it's even grimier. There's people, it's standing room only. There's no chairs. There's a dingy bar in the back selling beer for $5. I'm like, okay, that sounds like my vibe. I'm kind of a punk kid,
Yeah, you are.
And I like going to metal shows and whatnot. So that sounds like that vibe.
It was,
and it definitely is, because it was like, I saw. I remember going to see Brody King. I forget who he was in a match with. I think it was with like Andy from Every Time I Die, who's now the Butcher.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember him just flying over the top onto the crowd. Yeah, onto me and my buddies. My buddy got all fucked up because he wasn't expecting that. And he's not a big wrestling dude. He was just there to hang with me.
Yeah.
And Brody just smashes into him. And he's like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, it's a show. It's a mosh pit. It's a, it's you got to pay attention because there's people crowd surfing, but the people are coming from the show.
Yeah.
So it was fun, man, and really, really hooked me back into pro wrestling, because I had even just kind of given up on WWE for a while, because I was like, I missed the whole John Cena. I missed Daniel Bryan. I missed The Shield. All that shit that people love these days everybody's freaking. I missed the whole CM Punk thing.
Right.
So like my buddies are flipping out. Oh my God, CM Punk's in AEW. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
cool.
I've had that same feedback from a few buddies who kind of got back into wrestling after he had left,
Yeah. So, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, I'm happy for pro wrestling. I think it's a big moment. It's like, the crowd was into it. I'm happy for all the fans.
I'm happy for Punk too, man.
I'm happy for him.
He's been through a lot, yeah.
But I personally, I'm just kind of like, well, I've never, only thing I've seen are a couple matches here or there, his pipe bomb promo thing, and then I saw some really cool independent clips that he did when he was in the independents.
Yeah.
But, I think that that PWG, like the one thing I heard was that it was like the spot, not just for talent, but it was like the exclusive spot.
Yeah,
all the celebrities are there.
I think there's something really punk rock about PWG, quite frankly. Like it's just like you have to know, and you have to be in there to be in there. But then somehow, kind of like the Ramones or some shit, like literally everybody in the world knows them. You know, and then there's like promos on TV where like, you know, John Cena once dropped PWG on, you know, dropped the name on Raw. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And obviously, it's come up a lot in AEW because it's hard to argue that AEW would even be a company
without them,
without Gorilla. Like all those dudes are from Gorilla. They all, like the Bucks lore before they got to New Japan started in Gorilla. You know.
Yeah.
And so Reseda was a spawning point for a lot of pro wrestling. And what's crazy is I think like as like hundreds of these dudes have gotten signed, everyone kind of like becomes cynical or skeptical, and they're like, will PWG be able to exist without these guys or those guys? They're all just getting signed. For some reason, man, they just keep doing it, and it's still like we sold out in 10 minutes for this tremendous show.
Dude, it's nuts. Like okay, so I even went out of my way because I really wanted to go.
Go.
It's okay. I want to go. So I messaged some friends that are like hardcore wrestling fans, and I'm like, hey, can you text me when the tickets go on sale? Just let me know.
Yeah, right.
Because like, even though I have the Twitter account and I'm like, I have notifications on, I'm still, you know, I'm busy too. I got a bunch of shit going on. So please just keep me in the loop because I want to buy tickets. And my friend messaged me. I'm like, oh, cool. Pull my phone up, sold out. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's crazy.
It's nuts. Like even like you look at PCW, they have the same amount of talent.
Yeah.
If you know, you would say. I mean, I always tell people I'm spoiled because all these people are freaking out on it. You know, because AEW's got Lucha Brothers and you know NXT's got Shane and I'm like, you know, I was watching Swerve versus Penta at PCW.
Right.
You know, spoiled by tremendous talent and. But, you know, those shows, you could buy tickets. It wasn't like a madness.
Yeah.
Like 10 minutes sellout. Like, what's the, I don't know, what's the,
I think,
the difference? Like, why is it happening?
Well, first of all, like the building in Wilmington where PCW does wrestling is like
it's
a
huge.
big-ass building.
Yeah.
So you could...
The Ultratorium.
Yeah, I mean, you could do 200 fans there if you wanted, or you could really do 2,000, which we've done. And, like... You know, you can't fit that many people at the Globe Theater when it comes to Gorilla.
That's true, too.
But, like, I think that's kind of how Danny wants it at Gorilla, like, is basically to have a situation where it does sell out. It is exclusive. It is, as where, like, PCW Ultra, like, you know, because they have the ability to fill the building, they'll sell tickets. They'll, you know, walk up, like... I mean, we've sold out 1 million times there for fire codes, but we've also probably like been beyond that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And then like the shit spills into the streets and shit, and it's just like, and like if I could just talk about this for a second, like the difference between PCW and PWG, because you're right, like the talent levels are the same, but I just feel like with Gorilla, like there's a focus on sort of new forms of wrestling, like, you know, that spotty style, quick pace, hard hitting, as we're like the folks booking PCW Ultra are focused a lot more on what I remember as old school wrestling. So like big ass dudes who you really think will like literally kick the shit out of you. Dudes, you know, the violence is there. It's a different vibe.
Yeah.
And that's why I love working for both of them, because it's just, it kind of is like, yes, they're both Apex Wrestling, but at the end of the day, they're so different. You know what I mean? And the fans are different too. Like the Ultra fans
Southern California fans are it's seeing Johnny Puto, you know, screaming Johnny Puto all the time. Or I remember they had I forget who it was. It was two big guys. They were big, burly dudes dressing like army gear, kind of. They were going up against War Beast.
Yeah.
And their shtick, I guess, to get heat was to make fun of like Mexicans or like the wall or something. And I just remember like standing in a crowd, I'm like, oh, this crowd's going to kill these guys. It's not going to be heat like boo. It's going to be like, get outside right now.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing too, is like at Gorilla, like heat doesn't really like exist in the same way. Like the fans are like smart marks, right?
Yeah. So everybody's happy about everybody. Pretty much.
But like they know if you're a heel, they'll boo you at Gorilla, but they're doing it like almost like because they know they're supposed to in a way.
Right.
And like, yeah, there's great heel promos at Gorilla. Like freaking, what's the guy that just did that? I don't know, is Cameron Grimes, right? When he was at Gorilla, he's in NXT now, right?
Right, yeah.
I mean, that dude got so much heat just from like 30 seconds of talking on the mic, and people
I can't
just hated
stand him. I can't stand him.
And I love the dude because I think he's like, the way I see it through my lens is like how fucking good he is.
Well, right,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
I hate him because he's good at his job.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? And then if you look at Ultra, like, the fans actually do fucking hate you. Like, they don't, like, it's not like they know they're supposed to boo. But at PCW Ultra, like, I mean, we're talking like throwing trash at the ring, like dudes having to be held back by security.
I've seen people
punch wrestlers,
throw
like,
beers at Sammy Callahan,
and that's old school fucking wrestling, right? That's
Yeah.
like the old heel like ways to really infuriate the crowd to the point where like they're buying a ticket so they could throw their beer at you.
Yeah,
and like. That's a beautiful thing to me too. As fucked up as it sounds.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. The only time I felt danger at a show like that was at a PCW show. I remember just standing. It was a War Beast match, and I just remember at one, and I smoke a little bit of weed, so I was a little stoned, and I'm standing in the crowd, and I just remember looking over the ring on the other side. I know Fatu was like destroying someone because you could hear chairs. Yeah. I couldn't see it, but you just hear disaster. And then on my side, I look over and Joseph's just punching a guy with a rail spike.
Oh yeah.
And I saw blood just splash.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh fuck! Like I'm in it right now. What's happening?
I think that's why people get pissed off about like the fake word getting thrown around, because it's like, although things are predetermined and it's definitely entertainment, like nothing they're doing is fake.
No.
I mean, it's not like, if Tom Cruise throws a punch, they put the camera in a specific spot so that Cruise's punch looks like it's connecting, but it's not.
No,
these dudes are connecting. Obviously, they're trying to help each other be safe.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a real thing. The blood is real, and the fucking passion is real, and PCW Ultra is a violent place. And I would argue, just to, make sure everybody understands what it is. Like, no fan has ever left there unsafe.
Oh,
like,
right.
It's always been taken care of.
It's the feeling of danger, but I'm never in actual danger. So I don't want people to get that wrong.
No, but I mean, it's definitely like your adrenaline will spike when you're at a PCW show.
I never sit down. Like Joseph always, occasionally hooks me up with seats, and I'm like, don't even bother. I just need to get in the building because I'm not going to be sitting down. It's going to be chaos.
Well, you're on the short list then, bro, because Joseph does not hook up chairs, brother. So he must like you, man.
Yeah, well,
people pay for their tickets at PCW.
I'm grateful for all the opportunities he's given me. I mean, I try to make, and this is how I do everything, because I get hooked up with like concert tickets, like, and I'm very blessed.
I saw you backstage at the Tool show. That was fucking badass, man.
So I'm blessed for that, but I also try and give back. You know what I mean? I'm not just going to leech. So whenever I talk to Joseph, it's like, hey, here's Grill 'em All. You guys should work together. There should be food from Grill 'em All at your shows. You guys should do promotions. Like, try and connect, make some connections happen, make some business happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me that's why I'm okay with getting hooked up with tickets and
because you feel like you're also hooking people up.
I'm trying to give back. I don't think people that are just always asking for free shit, like that's. Give something back.
Yeah, no, and I know guys like that. And honestly, obviously my real life outside of wrestling and entertainment is I'm a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons I wanted to get into that was just because I too like making connections, making deals. Like, you need this, you want this, I'm gonna hook you guys up, let's negotiate it, let's get it going. That's what real estate's all about. But Coco, please, I'm doing a podcast. I mean, fuck.
It's so funny, I've become a dog dad. It's like when Coco jumped here, I'm just immediately like, oh, pets, we're good. Like, now I know the formula, just having the dog at home, because he does the same thing, but he's 65 pounds.
Shit, dude, she's only 7.5.
Yeah, so and he likes to climb behind the couch and I'm like, okay, cool, dude.
What kind of dog is he?
It's I think it's an American Bulldog, but I think he's also mixed with something else.
Got a little something else.
So. You got a big show coming up with PCW Ultra, actually.
Yeah.
It's a big comeback.
Yep.
Because like all things with the pandemic, everything got shut down.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, they named it All Systems Go. That's a great name for it.
All Systems Go.
Yeah, we're back. Yeah.
It's great that we're back, but it's also a little scary considering there's a variant and shit's going on still. Shows are getting canceled again, and that terrifies me. When I heard like 9 Inch Nails canceled their tour and Korn canceled their tour, and it's like, oh my god, like what's especially for a pro wrestling show where there's a lot of fluids.
Many fluids.
So, I mean, how are you feeling? Any kind of nerves like that? Are you good? Are you ready to? I mean, because you did PWG recently too, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, just for the record, I did get vaccinated, and so I guess I have like a little peace of mind. I know the variant and all the other things, but none of us really know what the hell's going on. But yeah. So for me personally, like, I'm not really worried. I do worry about like the company's bottom line, like, you know, putting down deposits and then maybe having something pushed back, or fans asking for their money back because they can't make a date if a show were to be postponed or something like that.
Yeah.
But one thing I know about, you know, the company, whether it's PWG or PCW, is like they both kind of have their ducks in a row to make sure they're covered in these ways. I mean, I don't know the specificity of it, but I know that they're definitely like professionals at what they do, not just in the ring, right, but behind the scenes. And so, I mean, we can only hope that like nothing, you know, first of all, that everybody's safe during this time with the variant and everything, but also that like folks who are putting their investments into these shows have either backup plans or contingencies to figure out what to do if, you know, Cali were to shut down or some shit again.
I hope not. Like, yeah. I get it.
Yeah.
I also don't agree with like Texas, where it's just like, fuck it,
fucking free for all.
Jesus, it is chaos down there. But you know, I get it. It's just such a weird, you know, balance between like, hey, let's be safe, but also, you know, we don't want to lock down, but we also need to continue life. Otherwise, what are we doing? You know?
Right. Yeah. I'm on that fence too. Like, I'm not a scientist. Like, I try to wear my mask everywhere. Like, but like, yeah, people need to live, man, you know, and like the vaccine has been out there now for several months. Like, you could choose to get it or choose not to get it. But like, ultimately, I think now we have to let ourselves go back to like being what we are, which is, you know, humans, in entertaining ourselves. And like, if you're vaxxed, maybe you're good, maybe you're not, but you know, you have that option. And
at least it's more protection. And it's not like this is the first vaccine ever. We, you know, growing up, I had like 7.
We probably have, more than that, right? It's like tuberculosis, polio, hepatitis. I mean, there's all these, you know, antibodies that we got shot up as children just to get into school. I don't understand like the whole like idea that like all of it is like fake or some big ass conspiracy. Like, that part doesn't make sense.
No. The microchip with Bill Gates. Like, I mean, like you're so important that somebody wants to microchip
right,
you.
Dude. Like,
what are you doing?
They're already listening to us on our phones. Like, I have no doubt.
Yeah, that's the other. Oh, they're tracking us. What about your GPS in your pocket?
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah, or like, I mean, I don't know. I do think the vaccine was like something hard to trust because it was like really so quick rushed. That it came out. Yeah, like I understand the trust issues, but when people start getting into their fucking philosophy on like the whole like Illuminati trying to take over your body, I'm not down, man.
No one cares about that. It's weird. I'm you know, and I want to go. I'm going to go to the PCW show.
Good.
I wanted to go to the PWG show, but that's sold out immediately. But I'm okay with going to local shows. Yeah. Because, you know, there's still like enough room to walk around. I'm not going to be on top of people. Yep. I'm going to wear my mask. I have my vaccine. I'm protected. Because, you know, I had this argument with my wife. Like, she was like, why are you going to go? And I'm like, because I need to do something. If I don't do, I'm going to lose my mind. If I don't go, you know, I was planning to go to Vegas last weekend for Psycho Las Vegas. And when I saw that it was chaos over there, that show was sold out and nobody's wearing masks. It's all indoors. And then on top of that, you got SummerSlam in Vegas that weekend and a Pacquiao fight that weekend. Everyone's flying in from all over the world. I was like, you know what? Maybe that one I'll skip. I'll skip that one. I'm not going to go to Vegas this weekend. But local shows, like, fuck that, man. I got to get out of the house.
I think it's important. I think mental health has really taken a back seat in conversations around America for the last, 15, 20 years. I mean, maybe ever. I mean, back, 100 years ago, they would do lobotomies, right? And then, as recently as 20, 30 years ago, they're just pumping people up with drugs to try to correct their mental. But, like, exercise or, like, fucking entertainment are, like, so huge for your mentals, dude. Like, and, that's why I am a ring announcer. That's why I'm a commentator. That's why I manage wrestlers, to entertain myself. You know what I mean? And without those things, like, for the last year and a half, I did have a lot of, like, mental health hurdles to overcome without that identity, without that sort of, like during the day I'm like Clark Kent, and then I show up in the suit at PWG, I turn into Superman. And without the ability to express myself as that, like, I fucking found myself aimless. I found myself not sure about who I am, what I am. And that's, and then I have it easy, bro. Yeah. Like some people who have been turned down to these parts of life, right? They don't get to have these. They've gone through real mental health problems. And
yeah, man.
Yeah, so at a certain point, you do have to ask yourself, like, are we really just going to fucking cut our nose to spite our face? Like all these people committing suicide and people just with no direction. And now people don't have daycare for their kids because the schools are closed for so fucking long. And like how much money that costs them to try to like
so many divorces and they're like, oh wait, I have to be around you 24/7. Oh no. Yeah, but I get it, man. It's some of the strongest people I thought were the strongest people that I knew. I recently sat down with to talk about mental health, and I've noticed that they've even, I'm not going to say their name because privacy reasons, but big names that you would think, oh, they're fine, and it's like, no, we're not, because for a year and a half, 2 years, no life, no work, no income, especially if you're in the entertainment field, you get a certain. So I was trying to explain this to someone that there's the very real science behind social media. When you get those likes and you get those hearts or whatever, that gives you like dopamine in the brain. You get happy, and then when you don't get it, you get depressed, and that's why we've seen this increase in mental health with social media linkage. But look at entertainment, where you're coming out and you have a crowd of people yelling at you, and just in a positive way. What kind of dopamine hit is that?
It's huge.
It's an enormous hit. And then when you don't have that, the come down, the withdrawals of that have got to be devastating.
And you're talking like macro, and just to talk on it for a second, like micro is interesting too, because you do feel those dips even the day after a show.
Oh yeah.
So like if you fucking kill it on a Saturday night, you wake up Sunday morning kind of feeling like the jitters, like a little withdrawal from that.
Yeah, where's the next show?
Yeah, so imagine that shit for fucking a year and a half. Like,
it's devastating.
It is, man. But I think we're getting past it, and I think I don't know, man. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'm just hoping for the best for a lot of wrestlers who have put their whole lives into this, and
Yeah, my whole life has been music, wrestling, and like comedy.
Yeah.
And all three of those were the ones hit hardest by this whole situation.
Oh yeah. Well, because like you're into live entertainment, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a difference between obviously that and like a couple of actors in a room doing a scene with some cameras, right?
Right. Yeah.
So live to me, by the way, I did theater in college and in high school, and like that's what I couldn't get rid of the bug, man, of just wanting a ton of people in the room watching me do something that I was designed to do for that moment, right?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I love live performance. I mean. So yeah, I mean, we're starting to get it back. I've done one show in the last year, and that was PWG. We got a couple more shows coming up. I used to be doing 4 or 5 shows a month, and that's just gone. So it's still less than before.
Yeah. So all right, so kind of like move away from the sad topic of depression. How did you settle or discover your voice as an announcer? And because it's got to be difficult to not sound like someone else that's already doing it.
Right.
You have to find your voice to make it unique.
Yeah.
So what was the process for you?
Talking about ring announcing?
Yeah, ring announcing.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to sound like Bruce Buffer, because then you just sound like someone who's copying Bruce Buffer.
Right.
So you have to find your own voice, which you have. So, I mean, what was your process in terms of trying to figure that out?
Yeah, I just copied Bruce Buffer. No, I mean, and that's kind of serious, man. I mean, like, I was just inspired by him as a UFC fan in the early 2000s and 2010s and stuff, and I was like, this guy's got so much swag, and he's doing this different than any other ring announcer. So, like, I don't know that I copy him, like, vocal mannerisms, or, like, I certainly don't copy his verbiage because he has
copyrights and he'll sue you.
Right, yeah. Well, no, more like, he's talking about, like, fighter weight, fighter camp. Like, it's more of a shoot for him, so he has to get through the actual particulars of, like, this judge scored it 28-27. In wrestling, we don't really have that. Orange Cassidy is from wherever and from whatever, right? Like, so there's fun you can have in it, but I loved his enthusiasm and his charisma. And I found that ring announcers classically, whether it's his brother Michael or like you know, some of the names, Jimmy Lennon Jr., like some of these guys, they're just a little robotic, you know, and that's the way the job has been done.
Yeah.
And Bruce was able to kind of create sort of an animated character out of the job. And so I didn't take what he was doing, but I took that as a lesson to be like, I want to be animated. I want to be charismatic. You know, I want to be like, whoa, look, what kind of suit is he wearing? Like, I like that shit. Like peacocking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you only, as a ring announcer, you have like fucking 20 seconds in the ring for each match. They're not getting much on camera, so make an impression was kind of my thought on it.
Okay.
But yeah, and then I'm also like not like, you know, I think a lot of guys in my job, whether it's commentary or ring announcing, they have a sort of like exact thing they want to hit. Like, then I say this, and this is the line that I'm known for. I'm not that guy. I don't want to be like, oh,
you don't have a catchphrase?
Yeah, I'm not like the catchphrase guy. I want it to feel more natural. When I did acting classes throughout my, you know, teens and 20s, I did Meisner technique, and Meisner was like with Jeff Goldblum, by the way, who's fucking badass.
Nice.
Punk rock, by the way. But yeah, he was like, his whole lessons in acting was just sort of to be real, to take what's happening in the moment and then give it back in the moment. So like, I don't know. I mean, my announcements might sound uniform, but they're not intended to be. They're just like, I feel out what's in the ring. I'll listen to the crowd. If they're chanting, boom, boom, they're chanting for Orange Cassidy. I wait for them to finish their chant. Then I go with my announcement. So I want it to be a little more organic and let the crowd be part of the fucking feeling of announcing these fighters or wrestlers. Because I've done MMA too. But yeah, so I hope that answers your question.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, and it's difficult, man. I mean, I've loved, you know, I've always used my voice. I was a singer in a band. I've done obviously the podcast.
Can we hear a little something right now?
Oh no,
okay, fair enough.
I'll show you when we go to lunch.
Sounds good.
But you know, I've always loved using my voice, and doing like voice acting, and I would do impressions at home and whatnot. And I've always thought of how cool it would be to be an announcer, like, because I love that. Like we were saying earlier, that rush. You could see it in the face of the fighters in the UFC with Bruce when he.
Oh my god!
You know, when he's yelling and they're like, yeah, like it's fucking great. So I liked being able to hype people up like that. But you know, every time I tried to like do one, it was just imitating someone else. You know, I never really have like, I don't have a voice or whatever, if that makes any sense. I have one, but I don't have my own unique sound when it comes to that. Like I forget his name, but the dude from AEW,
Justin Roberts.
Yeah, he's done a good job of being unique.
Yeah,
I guess.
Justin's. No one else is Justin. Justin is Justin. Yeah.
And
I don't know about that Johnson.
Hey, he got a shirt out of it, so
hey, amen, bro. I like Justin, man. Yeah, he definitely like shaped and molded his style into something, and then that's what he does. And one thing about Justin, man, that's incredible is like, I don't think he's ever botched a single
announcement.
Not one. Like, the dude is like batting 1,000 over 15 years of pro wrestling. Like, so he's really good at getting everything right. And even me, I've fucked up shit. Like, one time I was reading my card, and I'm sure PWG fans, if there's any listening, would know this, but like, Walter went over in his match, he won, right? And he was the PWG champion, but I just came off a weekend working for New Japan and Ring of Honor. And on my card, Walter is from Ring Conf, right? That was the name of his tag team.
Right.
And I accidentally, like, my brain read it all at the same time. I said, here is your winner. And still Ring of Honor champion at fucking Gorilla. Which, it's funny now, right? But in the moment, it was so awful.
Terrifying.
Yeah, because, like, everybody was, like, all into Walter in that moment. And I took that away. They were all cheering him, screaming for him. And they all heard me say Ring of Honor. And it was a distraction from the fucking badass moment that Walter had earned right there.
Yeah.
So I felt garbage about it. Obviously people were going to make mistakes. I don't lose sleep over it, but yeah, man. And it, you know, and people won't let it die either. I hear it every once in a while.
That's another reason why I don't think I can pull that off. Maybe it's also true because I smoke a lot of weed, but you know, I feel like I would fuck up a lot because I just, I
try not to smoke bud like on show day, like just as a fucking
stay focused.
Yeah, exactly. Like as soon as the show ends, I'll light something up and go back to my regular kind of scheduled program, so to speak. You know?
Yeah, because I'll definitely fumble some stuff, and then like I also don't care. So like I'll fuck it up, and I'll just be like, whatever, shut up.
Yeah.
But anyway, dude, it's such a unique experience for you because you also get to. I mean, I'm assuming you have to go backstage and sit down with the guys and all right. So what do you want me to say.
Yes.
It's like, obviously, people like Orange Cassidy, like you said, or, what's
funny about Jim is that he actually, like, in the back is the same. Like, I mean, he's a little more, like, normal and personable than he is, like, on TV with that sort of lazy attitude that he has. Orange Cassidy, of course.
Yeah.
But, like, when I, if I go up to him, like, hey, man, what, you got anything for today? He's like, nah, it's cool. Like, he actually is kind of that guy a little bit,
Okay.
I think Orange Cassidy's like a turned up version of who Jim is, and
yeah.
like, but yeah, and going back and talking to guys and like asking them that, like, it is almost like more work than it is like fun, like trying to chase people down and, hey man, like, what's your numbers? And I'm like, okay, this match has got 3 minutes before, we're going to get back up there. So the job of a ring announcer, at least in the indies and stuff, is as much of a liaison to the company's like ability to get the show done on time, like how long till break, how long till intermission, how long is intermission. We are definitely facilitating that. So the people see us like in the ring, this guy, that guy, I'm wearing $1,000 suit, it's nice. But like in the reality of it is, without us doing our jobs properly, like the show will be late, it'll start late, it'll end late, and so I think it's important, and we communicate on behalf of the promotion, on behalf of the venue, different things, license plate, whatever, your car's getting towed, like shit like that.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, dude, so it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work. I think commentary is a little bit more fun than ring announcing, because you actually just sitting there like we are right now, chopping it up with another announcer, talking about what's going on in the ring, evaluating, analyzing, calling it, and that you're just kind of having fun the whole time. You do research on the side, right? Do YouTube clips of different wrestlers, make sure you know their finisher and shit. But that one's a little more fun. Ring announcing is a little bit more stress. It's a little more like fucking work. You know what I mean? I love them both, don't get me wrong, but that's the difference I see in those two jobs.
Now that you mention it, now that you say that, like I'd never really thought about that, but that's, it's the similarities to like a tour manager.
Yeah.
Where, you're managing the band, you're booking things too, but you're also coordinating, making sure the band gets out of the tour bus, making sure the venue's ready to go, making sure they got the rider. So it's cool to see that there is more responsibility behind it than just show up and, read the card.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's I don't know. That sounds like a lot of work. And like you said, I think commentating would be a lot easier, a lot more relaxing. But have you dealt with any, and I mean, you can if you want to, but you don't have to say any names, but have you dealt with any kind of like divas or shitty workers that are like,
I'd say like maybe a third of the guys are not cool guys in pro wrestling. They're all, I shouldn't say all, but this third that I'm referring to often have, real like ego, sort of prima donna nature, sort of, and the only reason I say that is because I worked in MMA too. And so you'd like work with these dudes who were like 20-year black belts, and they had this sort of artistry about them where they were humble, and they've been choked out, they've been tapped out, they've lost and gotten knocked out in front of thousands of people, and their attitudes are like much more in line with that. Like I'm here, I'm good at what I do, but I'm not the fucking greatest. I think every wrestler wants to like talk about he's the greatest, and that's cool for on camera, but like when you're in the back and we're just shooting the shit about our families or whatever, if you carry that attitude into the back, like it's a problem for me. And there's a real like toxic fucking environment in pro wrestling. I mean, not just in the indies, but as we've seen in the biggest companies, like there's just a lot of dudes who, for better or for worse, like they have this like delusion of grandeur rather than thinking of it in the way that I think of it, which is like ensemble. Like whether you're cast to win or lose, whether you're cast to be the hero or the villain, like it's all an ensemble thing. Without the match before you ain't shit. Without the match after you ain't shit. Without the referee, you ain't shit. Without Excalibur on commentary or Christian Cole or Todd Kennelly, like all of it. And so some of these guys just don't understand that, and that's why I think a lot of them fucking sit on the indies for 15 years, because they don't have the ability to realize that this is bigger than them. And WWE does a good job, love them or hate them, of making that environment like no one's bigger than the company. I mean, I got a million gripes with WWE personally,
except for Roman Reigns. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah,
apparently.
fucking Roman's the
apparently.
best. Yeah. But like, and like, by the way, every indication is that Joe's NYE is like the nicest fucking dude on the planet. So it's like, and Cena too, man, right? Like when I did extra work in 2013. I famously got slapped by Ryback. You probably weren't watching wrestling at that time.
No, I wasn't, but I've seen the clip.
Yeah, so yeah, I got fucking crushed by Ryback in a scene in the shower of all places. But
you were on his podcast though, too.
Yeah,
right?
I did his podcast. Yeah, I mean, Ryan's crazy motherfucker, dude, but he is like, he's cool, you know, like if you could vibe with him, he's pretty cool, dude. And that day he was cool. The day that he slapped the shit out of me, he came up to me afterward. He's like, man, did I get your ear? He was very, like when Punk did that podcast about, you know, Ryback being dangerous and hurting him. And like, I felt like that day Ryback was in my face, like with that in his head, like, did I hurt you? Because it was becoming his reputation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I told him, I'm like, you definitely hurt me, but you didn't do anything wrong, right? You were instructed to slap me in the face. It's not a work punch where you hit him in the neck or in the chest. Like, hit me right in the face. You did your job. You know you didn't hit my ear, thank you, because you could literally rupture an eardrum. The dude's fucking 300 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And like, so yeah, so like, I kind of lost my train of thought, but
we were talking about attitudes and just behavior backstage, because it's interesting to me because one of the elements of pro wrestling that I love. It's the same element that I found when working stage production, whereas it feels like there's some kind of brotherhood, and like there is when you're in the ring, you know, you have to kind of put aside your ego if you're the one that's losing the match,
right? Like
you have to make them look good. You have to make the person that's getting the push look good. You have to make it. You both have to work together so that the message gets across. And it takes a lot of discipline to be able to put aside your ego to put someone over. And I always respected that. I thought it was like very admirable that, you know, people are willing to do that and do the favors for everybody else. But you know, I imagine that it's got to be tough, you know.
Mental health, it goes back to what we were saying, right? Like, yeah, I mean, if you think you're over and you're doing everything you can and your matches are good and promoters keep calling for you to lose, you know, that could get in your head a little bit. I mean, not about the fact that you have an L on your record. That's not what it is. It's more like, you know, and then like, I want to go back to what I was saying about the MMA thing. It's like in wrestling, like if 25 promoters in a row tell you you're going to win, you're our champion, you're the guy, but it's all pre-planned, you can get an ego from that, as opposed to like with MMA, it's like you're the one doing it. Are you winning or are you losing on your own behalf? And like if you win or lose on your behalf, then we can go to like, you know, what happens to your mental after that. I won, I earned this, versus I won, a promoter told me to win, and I lost, I didn't work hard enough, or I made a mistake, versus I lost, this is bullshit, I shouldn't be I shouldn't be being booked to lose, right? Yeah. And so Coco, stop. There's a lot of like, just definitely like with wrestlers, there's a lot of insecurity, I think, because they don't have control over certain parts of their career, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like you could just walk into WWE and be like, hey man, I'm an indie champ, like you should pay me.
I'm the best ever. Yeah.
And like, you know, it's just crazy, man. But that's why I encourage like wrestlers who are in the business who do have like mental health issues to try to like just focus on what they can control. You know, because if you're like focused on the fact that you were told to lose, or that someone, you know, I got pantsed in the ring by Gangrel, like I actually enjoyed that spot, you know what I mean? But like those things for me are like, it's supposed to be fun anyway. If you're there to entertain, then you can have fun entertaining. But if you're there to be like the best, it's not always going to be perceived that way based on how you're booked. You know what I mean?
For sure, man. And that's one thing I've noticed about AEW. Like, I give them props if they're doing a good job. And, you know, I'm not like a super fan or super mark where I'm like flipping my shit like, oh, screw WWE, AEW, this, that, whatever. I don't really care. I'm here to get entertained. I'm here to watch the people that I know personally, people like Brody and that. Like, I want to see them succeed. Yeah. But when I look at AEW, everybody's cheering how, oh, it's a different vibe and everybody's so friendly. And it's like, yeah, but at what point, all these dudes that they're hiring and signing, who are you going to put over? And at what point, who's going to get mad? Right. Because someone's going to get put down. And it's already
happening, man. I mean, I won't get too into it, but like I have a lot of friends there, and you know, it's not all rainbows and kittens over there, man. It's,
like that's the impression on the outside that oh, it's beautiful there. It's not WWE.
It's definitely better than WWE. Sure. From a person who works in the industry's perspective. I mean, I'm only one guy, but like, you know, I mean, WWE has some bullshit, man. I mean, it's just like you can't have your own Twitch channel, or you can't make money off your name, and it's just like what Tony and them are doing over there is like they're kind of opposing all of that old school philosophy. Like, just an example, like when dudes come to the ring, their Twitter handle is on the lower third. Like that's what it should be. Like, promote your guys individually too. Don't just promote the brand, because you want the wrestlers to know that like they're getting some credibility from what they're putting into your company too. So, yeah, WWE has a lot of philosophies and business practices that I think are a detriment to the mental health of the wrestlers in their company. And I think AEW doesn't have that. It's just that wrestling is a hard place, a universe to live in, right? Like, yes, if you're going to put over Orange Cassidy, then the guy he's beating is going to be like, man, why am I not getting a rub?
Right.
But it's not like the real life, fucking torment of like, wear these handcuffs. You're not allowed to do anything unless you fucking say it to us first. That's a total different part of like the mental game that I think is really toxic. And so I think, yeah, to me, AEW in terms of the way they treat their employees is better.
Sure. WWE. Yeah. But yeah, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for the day. Like I know that it's gonna be troublesome because there's a lot of people trying to figure out who's going to be the top guy. Like, and they're all so good.
There's so many good.
Like, you can't give everybody a belt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right. It's great, but I don't know. And now there's still names that are floating around that are leaving WWE that people want in AEW, and I'm just like, but then who do we push? Because you got yes, Bray Wyatt and the Adam Coles and the Daniel Bryans are all coming, but who's making these decisions? Yeah,
and obviously WWE has a 3-hour Raw, right?
Yeah,
and then they also have 2-hour SmackDown, 2-hour NXT. They like
8-hour pay-per-views.
Yeah, and with like AEW, they only have a total of 3 hours of weekly television. They have 2 hours for Wednesday night and 1 hour for Friday night.
Yeah, Dark is not on TV, right?
It's not on YouTube. And like, I mean, I'm a diehard wrestling fan, and like I don't watch Dark because I just don't have the time to go on YouTube and consume even more wrestling.
Yeah, I only watch if it's somebody I know. Like I know my buddy Alex Chamberlain from Miami.
Dude, yeah, Alex is a buddy of mine.
Yeah, I saw he got his break there, so I watched that Dark. But I don't watch every Dark. I can't. It's too much. It's too much wrestling.
Yeah, I tune into Dark when a buddy of mine gets booked on it for sure. Yeah. But I mean, and Dark is cool. It kind of has a little bit of like a casual feel. The way they do the commentary and everything just feels like a little more chill, not as serious. I don't know if that's a good thing. Like,
I watch. I get a lot of that from. I watch Botchamania, so I see the clips of like Taz and Excalibur just cracking up.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, that's kind of fun. But again, too much wrestling. Not that that's a problem. Let them have their show. I'm not saying they should cancel Dark. I'm just like, I'm not gonna. I can't keep up
but when you
it.
say too much wrestling, you're thinking like it would be better if there was a little more storylines on Dark. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, something.
I think everybody that's involved in a match should have some story behind it. I truly feel that way. So.
Like I get the need to keep the people active and to kind of like see their in-ring work and maybe kind of see it like band practice.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I feel like you would draw me in if there was something more interesting happening on that show, except for just wrestling.
I think it's like it speaks to the fact that like the producers and writers can only create so much, and so they'll work on a Roman Reigns angle or like on a CM Punk Darby angle, and that they'll be like focused on that, and then they'll look at, and I'm not going to say names, but like another guy from lower on the roster, so to speak, and they just don't have the creative energy or maybe even the time to fucking, and if you ask the wrestlers to come up with the creative, like they're all just going to.
Well, then you end up with WCW.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's tough, man. But I wish that maybe these companies would consider hiring more creative people so that some of the mid card and lower tier guys can get real storylines, because that is what elevates a wrestler, is the drama. It's not really his in ring shit. That's the oohs and ahs and the pops in the crowd. But can we get the wrestlers to have their story told in some way? And I don't think a tripod camera with two dudes doing a 30-second promo is the way to do it. I think there's a place for that, but like to get like more vignettes, more acting scenes, more two dudes in a locker room having a gripe about something and now they're going to fight. Like there's not enough of that in AEW, and frankly, there's probably too much of the same thing in WWE. Like I know Roman's a fucking star, but I don't need 10 segments from him. In one show,
yeah,
right? Like,
there should be one segment.
I like him opening the show to get the fucking early ratings for commercials and shit. I like him obviously closing the show, main event, whether it's like a contract signing or a match, whatever Roman's going to do. But Michael Cole or whoever it is, like, we'll show the replay of the like 5 times throughout the show. This is what happened earlier tonight. Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan had an argument, like, and they keep showing it. Well, meanwhile, like some of these younger guys, like a guy like Ricochet, like comes to mind.
What a sad waste of
dude. He's so fucking incredible, right? Yeah. And then but as a fan of WWE, I know nothing about this guy. Fucking 5 years later, I don't know shit about him. And why have we not gotten one little interesting tidbit about his life? Even if you're WWE, why not go with a shoot? Why not talk about where he came from? And they used to do that with Jeff Hardy, right? They trained on trampolines and their dad, this and because Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy didn't have the best acting skills, so it was okay, let's do a shoot and talk about where these guys come from and where these guys, how they got here. And even with Jeff, they would use the drugs angle and stuff like that. That's interesting to me. Maybe some people think it's distasteful to bag on his personal life.
Sure,
but maybe Jeff wanted to express.
I think
himself.
he had a lot to do with that, because I remember seeing when they did a storyline with him and Sheamus,
right?
Where he was Sheamus was at a bar and making fun of him, have a drink and blah blah blah. But it was all Jeff, because he wanted to face those demons head on. Which props to him for that, and but it made it compelling.
It's so compelling, and wrestling has to be compelling. It just can't be fucking wrestling moves, because no one gives a fuck. The wrestling moves are half the battle, bro. And I would argue maybe even a third. Charisma, promo, character work, drama, and in-ring storytelling. In-ring, oh, I hurt my arm, I don't know if I can continue. That type of shit is compelling.
Yeah.
But wrestling has never done a good job at this. They've always, and I use wrestling and say they, because it's been forever, whether it's IWA, every wrestling company's had the same problem, which is we don't have enough resources and TV time to fucking highlight everything. So some shit just end up on the wayside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's unfortunate for people like Ricochet, man, because I've seen his work at Lucha Underground and just the sheer talent that the guy has. And it's weird. When they brought him up with Alistair, Malachi, whatever, Tommy, whatever you want to call him, both of them were super over.
Yeah.
The crowd was in.
Right.
And then they just kind of nothing. It's happened to a few people where it starts off, and then they just shut it down.
Was Aleister Black, his entrance, his raw WWE entrance, I guess he was doing it in NXT too, but is probably one of the coolest entrances since Undertaker.
Yep.
Lifting out of the fucking ground, with that cool device they built for him.
Smoke, and then they added creepy creaking wood sounds to it, which in Ricochet they added a little.
Oh yeah,
I was
they always do corny shit like that, man. Yeah, for me, it's they always find a way to sometimes it feels like a troll job. They're put corny shit on a dude who's on a meteoric rise, and it kind of makes it whack,
Well, if you believe the stories you hear about Vince, then you would, it's probably him trolling back there.
Right.
I'll put a little bullet sound on it. Yeah, make it sound pachoo.
He's so cute, and then running around and
yeah,
I don't know. It's weird, man. I hopefully they're happy. That's all I can hope for. I remember actually
They're not though, dude. That's the point. A lot of these fucking guys are not happy.
Some guys are. I know, Nakamura was I don't give a shit. I'm surfing and making money.
So that's the thing. It's what are you in it for? But a lot of these dudes didn't get into it for the money. They got into it for the passion of the art. And if you're literally never booked, or you're on fucking main event on YouTube or whatever, you're never wrestling on TV. You're on Dark every week. It could be hard to be stuck in a contract and not be being used. But then the industry until AEW is such a monopoly that it's what do you you can't quit. You're not going to make the money you're making on the indie. So they're stuck between feeding their families and expressively creating them, or expressively creativity, right? Whatever.
Yeah, expressing their creativity.
Yes, please, thank you.
It's weird, man, and you could see. I know I saw an interview recently with Nick Khan from WWE,
Me too,
where he was saying that they're going to stop hiring indies, and they're going to just start building it from within. I'm well, that sucks.
Yeah,
have fun with that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, I'm not going to watch that. I liked that they were bringing on when I saw Jake Atlas.
Yeah.
Who was from, I knew him from PCW. So when I saw him sign, I was like, fuck yeah. I didn't swerve. I was like, yes, good for these guys. I'm happy. I've seen them grind in the fucking PCW, and then now they're growing up or whatever into the scene. And then, now they're going to stop doing that. That's weird.
Yeah. The story behind Jake and Russ Taylor and a couple other guys who got let go in recent weeks is just tragic to me, because with Russ, he's 15 years in, and he's a younger guy. He's 35. He's not. I'm 37, right? So he's still got youth in him, and he's so skilled in the ring. And then they just started that new faction with him, and then with Jake, you have like the first real openly gay wrestler, like where I don't want to say it's his gimmick because it's not a gimmick, it's real.
Right, yeah.
But he wears pride on his sleeve in a way that maybe other gay wrestlers have not in the past for one reason or another. And he's like one of the best looking dudes, right? He's a super handsome guy. He absolutely loves wrestling, like, and is passionate about it, and was just getting started. You know what I mean? And for them to cut the legs out from him, and then to make this, you know, this press statement. I know you're talking about the Ariel Helwani interview with Nick Khan, right? Yeah. Where he's just like, we're not going to hire indie guys, and it's fucking tragic, man. I mean, I don't understand the philosophy. Like, literally anybody that's on top, I mean, maybe minus Roman Reigns, came from the indies, right? Like, John Moxley, Dean Ambrose is an indie guy. CM Punk is an indie guy. Daniel Bryan is an indie guy.
AJ Styles.
Frankly, fucking John Cena is an indie guy, dude. The UPW was a feeder system, but that was a SoCal indie working in front of a couple hundred people. And, like, a lot of these guys got started on the independent scene. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens is one of the most indie fucking dudes of all time. If there's anybody, I like Kevin Owens as a wrestling fan, like more than almost anybody in WWE right now. Like, he's just entertaining, interesting, hits hard. His wrestling looks real. Like, he does it all. And so to say like, oh, we're done doing that, it's like, you wouldn't have made a fucking penny over the last decade if you hadn't changed that philosophy. And you should know, Eddie, and I don't know if you do, but like, they go back and forth on this too. Like, there's been a decade where they focus on indie, and then they say we're not doing this anymore, and then they go back and hire a bunch of indie guys. So if anybody's listening that is an indie wrestler, like, and you feel like there's a possibility like you're never going to get hired now because stupid ass Nick Khan said some shit, like, the truth is just keep grinding, doing what you do. And also, man, there's never been a better time in this life ever to be a self-proprietized entity, right? To build yourself on TikTok, to build yourself on Instagram, Twitch, and like create your own income from your talents. And then usually a lot of guys who go, like, look at this last Raw, like Logan Paul was on Raw. And like, by the way, that was hilarious, the way they fucking booed the shit out of him for the entire segment.
I feel like that wasn't planned.
No. I mean, he had to know you'd take some heat, but like, I don't think he thought he would get like heat, like loud boos through the entire segment. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't know that John knew what to do with it either, because, you know, I guess he's supposed to be like a big celebrity, so they thought people would woo. Wrestling fans don't give a fuck about celebrities, dude. Yeah. They care about wrestling. So it's like, but anyway, when he went in there and you have him, it's like, you know, he made himself into that through YouTube. That's who Logan Paul is, like a kid.
He's fighting, you know, what was it? Was it him? He fought Mayweather. He fought
Mayweather in what to this day will tell you was a fake fight. Like, right?
100%. Okay. That's money.
So people always talk about that fight like it had some sort of legitimacy. No. I watched the fight. That was not a real fight.
No. Yeah. That was not a fight. I hope the Tyrone Woodley fight is real, because I would like to see him get knocked out by Tyrone Woodley.
Well, Jake Paul is fighting Tyron this weekend on Sunday, but like,
so that's Jake, not Logan. I don't know. They're both the same to me.
Guy. Yeah. But like, with the Jake Paul fights in his resume, he's fought bums in his career so far, but they're all real fights. He knocked out Nate Robinson like out cold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the fights he's doing are real. I think with Logan and
the boxing world.
Yeah, Logan's fight with Mayweather was absolutely a work. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I love works, but for them to sell it like a shoot is bullshit.
Yeah, I think that's bullshit. I'm not excited about any of that. Like, I mean, what the fuck? Sorry, I'm watching the little tricycle cars are happening.
Yeah. That thing's crazy looking.
I'm not into that at all. Like, the whole Logan Paul, like, what was it, that Trilla shit? Like,
or like,
I watched that Triller thing. It's Triller, right?
I'm saying that right? You got it right. Yeah.
I watched it because it was a goddamn train wreck. You know what I mean? Like, Ric Flair's in there hosting a slap fight. Like, Snoop Dogg is, you know, getting Oscar de la Hoya high on camera. I'm just like, all right, this is hilarious, because it just feels like a house party that I would have in my house. We used to have parties with bands and like people doing wrestling in the back or boxing in the back, and that's cool, but I can't take it seriously.
Right, or pay $50 for it.
No, man, I'm not paying money for that. It's weird. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up so we can go eat some food. It's been an hour. So you got PCW Ultra. This is in October.
October 22, I believe. You might have to check PCWUltra.com because I don't have my dates in front of me.
PCW Ultra. Get tickets now. I think they're like $30, and they have like a family pack, I think, if you want to come
with tacos or something.
Yeah, dude, it's so good.
Good shit, yeah.
And you know, it's cheaper if you buy the family pack. You just get a few friends together to throw down, and also you got PWG, the Tremendous.
Yeah,
7,
some number,
6,
tremendous number,
whatever number it is.
Yeah.
But that's coming up in September.
September 26th. Yep, at the
September
Globe Theater.
26th.
You cannot get tickets for that.
No, that's sold out in 10 minutes. PCW still has tickets. You're not working with New Japan anymore.
Not anymore.
Not
no.
anymore.
I mean, we could do a whole nother podcast on that one, bro.
We might have to do that.
Yeah.
I recently went to, that was my first show back into, live shows, was the Coliseum.
Nice.
Which was cool because it was outside and,
Yeah.
it didn't feel too freaky, but, the crowd was a little mild.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like New Japan classically has quiet crowds, but I mean that's
in Japan, and they're
yeah.
respectful.
Yeah.
Here in LA, it was just a little mild from what I'm used to, but I mean it's fine. People are a little worried, I guess, of yelling and screaming too much. But anyway,
Yeah.
follow if people want to follow your career, what you're doing.
Yeah.
Also, if they want to buy a house, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, it's at XGenCole on Twitter and Instagram, XTIANCOLE. Or you could just search Christian Cole on any of the old interwebs, the World Wide Web.
And you're twitching, I saw.
I am twitching to like my 2 to 3 viewers. It'd be dope to have a few more.
Yeah.
I play a lot of Warzone, and I've been playing Splitgate a lot. It's like Halo and Portal mixed. If you haven't tried that, it's badass.
I saw a trailer for it, Gamescom that just passed. It looked interesting. It kind of reminded me of Unreal Tournament too. I don't know
a little bit, yeah, a little futuristic.
So I definitely want to check that one. That's a free to play.
Yeah, free. Yeah.
So I'll check that one out.
But yeah, you could follow my Twitch is at CaliRaider18, CaliRaider18. And yeah, man, I appreciate you coming out, dude.
Hell yeah. Let's go eat some food.
Let's go grub.
Follow Christian.
Thanks, guys. Follow
Later.
me. Say hello.